The race for a coronavirus vaccine is not just a matter of saving lives. It's also a matter of saving face for some world leaders. As news broke this week that 2 vaccines have reached 90% efficacy, the incentive to speed up trials is growing. Russia and China are already rolling out their vaccines to the public before final testing. Is that safe? What efficacy rate is high enough? What level of side effects is acceptable? And how can users trust the vaccine they're given? In a world brimming with disinformation, separating fact from fiction is challenging. Well, it's becoming like a bidding war. First, the German-US duo BioNTech and Pfizer announcing its success of 90%. Then Moscow chimed in, reporting the same figure for its first candidate. That was Monday. Then the interim trial results on Wednesday showing Russia's Sputnik vaccine is actually 92% effective at protecting people from COVID. It's raising eyebrows among skeptics. But it's also raising hopes that we'll have a vaccine by the end of the year, and the more vaccines, the better. President Vladimir Putin says Russia is registering its 3rd vaccine against the coronavirus and insists all of them are effective. The scientific community doesn't agree and believes starting mass inoculations is risky.
The cameras are waiting. They've been promised a celebrity who's ready to be filmed being given the Russian vaccine, Sputnik 5. Enter blogger and bodybuilder Alexander Spak. The eccentric social media star takes one last selfie before he's injected with a dose of the still unproven vaccine. No one had to talk me into doing it. It's always good to be the first at something. I always had a negative view of vaccinations, but this is different. The doctors will keep an eye on Alexander for the next 6 months to observe the effects of Sputnik 5. The Russian blogger is enthusiastic to be part of the program. And like so many other people, he just wants life to get back to how it was. Normally, I travel a lot. I want to work normally, to move around normally. I don't like the masks. Now I can get all the medical treatment and be one of the first to be really free. Batting off international criticism, Russia rushed forward in the global race for a coronavirus vaccine. Back in August, Sputnik 5 became the world's first registered vaccine. But critically, that was before the results of the all-important Phase 3 trials were published. President Vladimir Putin is eager to be the man who presents the world with an effective vaccine. That would come with guaranteed prestige and, of course, profit. In mid-October, he made another announcement. The Novosibirsk-based Vector Center has registered a second Russian coronavirus vaccine, EpiVac Corona. Without doubt, it's an important success that you, dear friends, have achieved. Meanwhile, Alexander Spak waits to hear whether Sputnik 5 has provided him with antibodies or not.
Rolf Hermke joins us from the VFA, the Association of Research-Based Pharmaceutical Companies. All of these vaccines, or many of them now, are sounding more and more promising. So when final testing is over, when or how does production go ahead?
Well, the production has already started. Most companies have produced components of the vaccine already. At least one company has also reported that they have at least one batch ready for delivery. And with the components, the other companies will be able to have finished products soon as they have an approval.
Wow, ready for delivery. So hopes are high, but of course we have to see the final tests. A top army general behind the US vaccine initiative anticipates the first Americans could also start receiving COVID-19 vaccines next month. What do you think about that?
Well, the one company that was the first to report positive efficacy results, they said that they now have to wait for some more days to complete the collection of safety data. They need safety data from at least 2 months after the last shot from all the participants. When they can hand them in, the application is complete, then the FDA in the US and the EMA in Europe can start evaluating the vaccine, and when they have a positive opinion about it and when there is an approval, they can start. So yes, there is a chance to have approval in December. We rather more would expect it in early January.
And as far as production goes, how sufficient would you say the global production capacity actually is?
Well, some months ago, there has been an estimate that there is a global production capacity of something between 2 and 4 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccines that could be produced. That's quite a lot, but obviously we need even more. So companies have started to find more contract manufacturers that produce components for them. And they have also found other companies where they can license the vaccine to, so that they can produce it as well, e.g. in Australia or in South Africa, in Japan, and so on. So most likely, during 2021, the capacity will even increase.
What about the infrastructure? Some of these vaccines have to be stored at extremely cold temperatures.
Well, some vaccines indeed need minus 70 degrees Celsius, but fortunately some others that are also very far in their development, they only need a refrigerator. So we hope to hear of positive efficacy data in the next weeks, and then this could make the situation a bit easier for those who have to organize all the delivery things. And the WHO has organized the COVAX facility, as they call it. That's a kind of an organization that buys from companies and then distributes the doses they buy between various countries that have signed in, and they make sure that a large share goes to lower and middle income countries.
So you don't think those developing countries will be left at the back of the queue?
At the moment, it seems that the industrialized nations will most likely be quicker with having enough for their population. But on the other hand, we also have mechanisms that make sure that the low and middle income countries will get their share and an increasing share, as for example, companies in India have licenses to mass produce vaccine, and they have huge capacities when they can deliver, and they've announced that they will deliver in particular to low and middle income countries, then they will also have the vaccine they need.
And Rolf, could you give us an idea of how much the vaccine is actually going to cost?
Well, some companies have mentioned prices. Some have already stated that they will have differential prices, so a higher price in industrialized countries and a lower price in lower and middle income countries. For Germany, it appears that the vaccination will be cheaper than the ordinary influenza vaccination that people have every year. So the prices are really oriented at the lower end, and some companies have stated that they will orient their prices at cost, really, at their own manufacturing cost.
Wow, impressive stuff. Rolf Hermke, thank you very much for joining us today from the VFA. Time to ask Derek what he thinks about the latest developments. As always, our science correspondent is standing by to field your questions on the coronavirus.
Here in South Africa, some of us who had COVID-19 have experienced memory loss. Is there any research on that?
Cognitive dysfunction is one of the symptoms on the long list of those associated with COVID-19 that I think a lot of people really worry about. In some patients, infection with the virus can have effects on cognition as well as on the sensory systems that are tied to it, such as the sense of smell. Some experience delirium, or say they still feel a general sense of confusion, or find it difficult to focus, even long after other people who caught the disease might have recovered from it. The range of symptoms even has a name. People are calling it COVID brain fog, and memory loss is being regularly reported by people who experience it. A major recent study from the UK that looked at the coronavirus and cognition, including some aspects of short-term memory, it was pretty disquieting, though it's one that I hasten to add has not yet been through peer review. The scientists behind it compared the results of over 80,000 British participants in a nationwide intelligence test, and they correlated that with data on their COVID-19 status, so whether they'd been infected, and if so, how severe it was. And the researchers found among COVID-19 patients significant cognitive deficits, including even months later, especially among those who were hospitalized, but even among those who had milder cases. The hope, however, is still that those deficits won't prove lasting.